Alright guys, we're back on the 57 T-Bird today. We are going to work on taking out the dashboard. The next step on that is I'm going to take out all the wiring coming around the firewall here and feed it through. That to me is a lot easier than getting under the dash and doing everything down there. So I'm going to start over on the far side there near the generator, and we'll take it all around the side and around the back. It all hooks through the firewall right here at this grommet, and then there's also some stuff in the headlights here, and feed that back. With that, we'll get started. Alright guys, so we got the leads coming up from the generator here. I'm going to disconnect those right here at the voltage regulator. On this one, if you can see it, this is actually an alternator in this car, not the generator that it came stock with. So you can see we got the standoff here that kind of fakes it being an original stock generator. But just so if you see some differences there, that's because this has been converted over to an alternator. So I'm not going to do. Going from the voltage regulator. This is your horn relay over here. Pull that off. That has been on there for a very long time. If you haven't looked at some of the other videos, this car was sitting for probably about 45 years before we got a hold of it. So, and I've got one more bullet connector here that. There we go. All right, so that is generator, voltage regulator, horn right there. One thing I do recommend, I don't have any with me right now, but take some of the painter's tape or whatever you like, if you're not familiar with where these things go, and mark them. Sometimes you might end up with this in storage for quite some time and then trying to figure out the where it was hooked up before is kind of an issue. So go ahead and write it on there with some Sharpie and put some tape on there, some method of marking those wires with where they came from. All right, so as we follow this around, I'm just going to undo it. There's a clip right here on the inner fender. Another clip back here in the corner. Clip right here on top of the retainer for the hood. Another clip kind of in the middle. Another clip right where it branches into two spots. One of them drops down to pick up the coil and stuff, just to the side of the starter relay. And that's the passenger side of the engine compartment. Alright, so we're going to come up here to this terminal block for the headlights. And again, I mean, we started this in a prior video, but batteries are disconnected when we're working on horns. So same thing, it's a good idea with your headlights also. But I got kind of a greenish wire on the front here. It goes on the corner there. And then I've got this yellow one towards the middle. And by the way, needle nose are pretty useful for these. They're rough on your fingers. There's another light green one. This other green one had a yellow bullet. This one looks like it's got maybe a black bullet. That one's on this top in the second or third position. Oh, I thought this was 4 wire. It's actually 5 wire. And there's one with a yellow bullet down here in the bottom in the second or third position. One of the things I got to do with this is clean it up, because right now almost all the wires are black. This one looks maybe brownish with a yellow bullet. And then the last one, again through the dirt, looks like black and black. There. Alright, so that frees us up from that terminal block. Alright, then behind the washer stuff, we've got one clip. Another clip here in front of the battery. Go behind the battery. Oh, the brake. This one's still got the pressure brake switch. So it's those two that are together there. And coming over here to our relay, we've got the red wire over here on the passenger side. We've got the dirty white or blue on the driver's side. And then I've got I need to get a wrench, but I got to disconnect this double, and I think, if I remember right, those are actually supposed to be yellow. Very little evidence of that right now, but I got to disconnect those last two. All right, guys, so we got the, just took a 1/2-inch wrench, and we got that, got this one off the starter relay. And I did forget this branch that went over to the coil and a couple other things. So what we got is down here, we've got the water coolant temperature sensor. There we go. And there's a red one with a black bullet coming over here to the ballast resistor over the top of that. And again, let's see, let's get this real quick. I'm going to take care of that one off camera so you don't have to keep watching me do that, but there's one there on the coil. That frees up the rest of this, and there is one more going down to the oil pressure sensor. And the nice thing is, instead of having to go all the way down to the bottom, there is a bullet right there that you can disconnect. So you can do that right here. And that is this wire will then dangle down there. So when you're rewiring this, that's really a good one to label, because you will have that little piece sitting there and wonder where it goes, and it's going to this lead down to the oil pressure sensor. All right, guys, it's a couple days later. We're back on the T-Bird here, and the next thing is just to pull this wiring harness through. And here, over here in the corner, right behind the battery, is the grommet that goes through. You can see a couple other things there too. One is a wire that somebody pulled, a previous owner pulled through to power electric fuel pump. I've since removed that, but the wire is still there, so when I pull this grommet out, I'm gonna remove that wire too. One is the vent cable, and the other one that you're seeing there is, if I can get a reasonable shot at this, but the other one there is the windshield washer, also going through there. Actually, specifically, I think that's the pump out to it. So that said, I'm going to take out, there's two bolts through there. Take those out to free up the space in that grommet a little bit. Probably end up having to replace the grommet because that rubber doesn't last forever. And then pull those wires inside and zip tie them together in a coil so they're a little easier to manage when I pull the dash. All right. And so guys, here you can see I've actually removed the grommet. Once you actually get the screws out, one side is kind of hinged and the other is open, so you can spread it and then take that piece of rubber, the actual grommet itself, out as well. And then that gives you a pretty decent sized hole in here to be able to pull everything back through. And then actually one thing I'm going to have to look at is one of the things pulling through here that I thought was just the vent control. The vent control's running right through here. And that's this one. The foot pump that I thought was running out of there is actually running down towards the bottom from where the foot pump for the washer is. So this one, I'm not recalling right at the moment what this guy's for. I'll find out, I guess, when I pull it into the dash. So you guys, a little out of sight, out of mind thing going on here too. I had forgotten until I just went to pull this through the firewall that there is a drop that comes down here for the dimmer switch as well. So anyway, that's my recollection is there's like a 2 or 3 prong connection that's behind this cover that picks up that switch. So we'll remove that as well, and that'll completely free up our wiring harness then. Let me get it into the light here, but yeah, here's that 3 prong for the dimmer switch. Looks like it's 2 reds and 2 greens for that one. And then there's a look at the dimmer switch. Alright guys, the next thing we'll pull free is that driver's side air vent. So you can see where that's coming through the firewall right there, through that same grommet. Alright, follow that. There's a clip that anchors it right there. It's just behind the battery. Little Phillips down there. Then this one will be alright, and then there's the post sticking up out of the actual vent itself, and you can just see how the end of that cable is coiled up over the top of that post. So you can either take that knob off at the dashboard, or you can take it apart here and feed it back through, and that's what I'm going to do. That way this cable won't be in my way when I'm doing the flooring and stuff in there. Alright guys, I thought maybe now would be a good time to kind of take a tour of these knobs. I do see a lot of questions sometimes from folks on, hey, how do I get X, Y, or Z knob off? And we'll just, now not all of these am I going to take off because I don't need to, but I'll show you how each one would come off. And let me just go get a tool real quick and I'll pause it for a second here. And kind of doing this on the upside down dashboard because I think this will make filming a lot easier. But anyway, we'll just go kind of, I guess, driver's side to passenger side here. So first is the ignition switch, and I'm not going to take this off because all those wires that I just pulled back through, they pretty much, most of them connect up to that and to the light switch. So I won't need to pull those to get the dash out. But if you do want to pull it, there's really 2 ways of doing this. And one of them is you can get this little tool that has 2 ends on it. One of them has a, come on, focus. One of them has a hollow end on it to go over the stem, and then the 2 slotted, they're 2 studs or slots or whatever you want to call, and the other is just one big slot. So for this ignition one, then that inner nut comes out, and this wider end sits right in there, and it'll turn that guy out. And then once you turn that out, you can pull everything off and do that. Now that's with a, I want to say that tool was pretty cheap from some of the T-Bird houses. You can also do this with some needle nose if you're careful. You're more likely to slip and start leaving some marks if you use that, but you can do that as well. All right, so that's ignition switch. This one for the air, I was not planning on taking off, or I'm not taking off because I just fed the cable through. But we'll go look at the back side here, and you can see behind the light there. So I can get a little bit more light on just that part. That's a little better. There's just a nut on the back there, so if you undo that nut, you can feed the thing through the dashboard. Headlight switch. This one's another one that people find kind of tricky sometimes. If I come around here to the back side, and this is going to be really difficult to see. And right right there, I'm tapping on it. There's a little button you press, and when you hold that button in, you can pull the knob out of the front on its shaft. And then when you go to put that knob back in later, then you just push it in and it'll snap right in. So that's how you get the stem out. And then once the stem is out, you can see those couple of slots in there, and again, you can use the smaller end of this tool, or you can use the needle nose pliers like I showed before to take out that inner nut that's actually holding it in. All right, so that's those guys. What was here? Not later. Oh, wiper control. Okay. All right, guys, for the wiper, I have it removed from that dashboard. I don't honestly remember why. For the wiper, when I turn this around, you normally probably get this from the bottom or the side, but if I turn this around a little bit, you're gonna just make out, hopefully, a little standard screw, a small one, sitting in there. So you turn that out, and then this knob will come off. And then, as you can see, hopefully behind there, let me brighten that up a little bit. And then you can see the same slots in there, so you can use the small end of that tool and it will go over the shaft to be able to turn the nut out that's holding this control in. So that's how you do the wipers. If we come over here to the lighter, you'll see on the back. So looking at the back of the lighter, you got this barrel that'll turn to take that one off. So you can pull that off. The radio knobs, those pull off. Just pull them straight out of there, and you can see the little slot. You got to make sure that your that piece in there fits into that slot. When you pull those off, you can also pull the lower knob out. I think I did that off camera, but just pull it straight out. And then you finally get to the nut that's holding it in there, and you do that the same way on both knobs, and then you can pull your radio out. All right, switch over to the other side. All right, and I guess I should emphasize the lighter is just going to stay with the dash, so I'm not bothering to pull that out. The radio is also going to stay with the dash, not bothering to pull that out. These controls, temperature controls, I will pull those. Again, I don't want them in the way, so I'll pull those in from the where they go out and control. And well, actually, I think all the control, yeah, one control there for temperature, I think goes, if I remember, goes out under the hood. The other one for the mode just goes to the heater box under the dash. You've got your blower motor, so that's going to be some wiring. And oh, but knobs. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you did want to take off these knobs to be able, well, I should back up. If you want to pull that controller, then there's good view. All right, there we go. There's one nut right there, and then there's a similar one on the other side. Those nuts kind of push the bracket into the dashboard and pulls the whole assembly tight against the face of the dash. So if you undo those, you can pull the whole control out from the dash. And then if you want these knobs off, sometimes it's kind of hard to see depending on how dirty these guys are. But again, same two little set screws, or not set screws, two little screws are in the bottoms of these knobs. This one's a fairly fresh restore, so you can see them. They don't have a bunch of dirt built up in them. So that's how you get those knobs off, and then you can get the rest of this assembly apart. All right, coming over here to the blower. If you peek down in there, you can see that same slotted screw to take off. And then I can't remember, honestly can't remember off the top of my head if that exposes the same slot that you're used to seeing or if there was something different. Let's see if there's anything on the back side. It looks like once you get back behind that, then it must have that same slotted piece that you can use either the needle nose or the special tool for. And that is it for. Alright guys, and as you can imagine, getting under this dash for some good footage is kind of rough, but right now what I'm going to work on is pulling the two cables, the controllers for the climate control, one of which, if you follow it over here, so you following it over from the box, this is going to be really tough to see, but there's one of the little keeper screws up there. That's my finger touching that screw right now. So you have to loosen that to get the cable loose. And then similar to that vent control, then you get over, that stuff doesn't even want to move too well, but you get the same, if I can get a better angle on this. Yeah, there we go. Then you get the same arm with the cable that controls your mode over here. You can see the door actuating right there, and your heater core. All right, so that's one, and I'll undo that other screw as well so that cable comes loose. All right guys, and then the second cable for the bottom comes over here, and that's your right air. So that's actually undone the same way as the left air was. Cable over there under the hood. So there's the post right there. Just pulled that off, and then I'll need a Phillips, or sorry, actually this one's not a Phillips, that one's a hex head to release the cable and then feed that in through the dash, and then that goes through. Sorry for the videography here, but yeah, that one goes through this nicely disintegrated grommet right here above the heater core. The last for the temperature control, the last for the climate control is the temperature control lever here, and that one just feeds a short distance. This is going to be not good. I'm touching it right there. You can tell my voice change, how crunched up I am right now. And that feeds over into the heater box here on a stock installation anyway, so I'm going to take off the couple of screws here and there to get this heater box off, and I'm going to do this really carefully because this actually is in one piece, so I may actually reuse that because it's made out of like cardboard, kind of like the glove box is, and actually on this car even that stuff is still intact, so I'm going to keep it if I can. So anyway, I'm going to pull the couple of screws off, take that box out, and then that'll get us where we need to be to get to that cable. Been dealing with this heater box. I really need this aftermarket AC unit out of my way. As you can see, that's pretty clunky. That's even clunky for me when I'm driving because I'm 6'2", and it's right into my kneecap over there. But so I'm going to take this off the dash. Never done one of these, so there's two L brackets at least on the front here, and we'll see if there's anything else after that. It's moving around pretty good already, so I'm guessing maybe it's just those two things. Alright, changing plans, guys. There was no way I was getting this diffuser box out of there in one piece with so much stuff in the way still, and I kind of remember last time I was doing this, that was one of the first things I put on before the dash went in. So so what I did was for that last control for the temperature here, I just took that loose on the back of the of the back of the controller, and there's no way I'm showing you that on the dash, but all right, so I'll show you that on the one we've got ready to install here. Here's the, you're looking at with the dash installed, what would be the bottom of the of that climate controller. And it's similar to, well, it's almost exactly the same as the vent controllers that are under the hood. You've got a keeper for the cable, and then a post that the thing rides on. So what I did was undo this one that is on the bottom as we're looking at it, but on the top, on the dashboard. So you know, I was kind of pretzel shaped there, and getting that one screw out for the keeper, and then I could push it off, push the cable off the controller back there. And then this was the screw that I undid. So again, kind of upside down and tight. I was able to get it done, but it's certainly not easy. So, but anyway, that's free now. And the as you can see, also the that AC module is detached from the dashboard, and I'm able to move it around to get some freedom under there. One thing I'll show you too with regards to that temperature controller, I'm not a huge fan of the vacuum controllers. They just seem to be more pain than they're worth. So I have deleted that on this car. So that's just a elbow right there, come back into the heater core where your diaphragm valve would be. And then actually it's quite out of sight, which I enjoy. But then under the heater box here, okay. So under the heater box here is where I've installed a valve. This is a kit I got from Classic T-Bird Casco. And so it comes with a longer control cable that comes out and controls this guy here. You're not gonna be able to see that, but maybe a little bit. That's the controller there, so you just have direct control, mechanical control of the how much heat's going through the heater core with that. I like it because it's out of sight, and I also like it because those diaphragm valves, they seem to be fairly unreliable, and they're not cheap. They're like 85 bucks a pop or something. Last I looked, or 100 bucks, something like that. So I think that kit was 50. The whole kit to convert it over was cheaper than the valve, and it's still hidden, so it has an OEM look. Alright guys, so I think, you know, we've got the wiring at this point. We've got the all the controls, although you might call these controls as well. So I think all that's left, other than the dash structure itself, is we've got the e-brake handle and the hood release. So you can see on the e-brake, looks like the Phillips head there, and those are nutted on the top side. And then, sorry for the hand in the way, light moved, and there's the hood release, and those are slotted screws. So that's, I think that's it until we come back in and do structure, which gets into those braces there, and angled braces behind the kick panels, the screws up on the top of the dash. We'll talk about those. But yeah, I'm going to undo these last two controls, and we should be in pretty good shape. Alright guys, and here's those controls just hanging, like I said, nutted on the top in both cases. And then you can see, and I've been, probably a lot of this has happened off camera, but I always, when it's possible to do it, I always just put the hardware right back where it came out of, so that way there's no trying to figure out where it is or which one went to what or what washer went. Alright guys, so here's pretty much the position I've been in for most of this video. So like I said, it's good to have the steering wheel out for this kind of stuff. But yeah, just working under the dash. And also it's sometimes it's good to have the seat out as well. In this case, I didn't feel I needed to do that yet, but that could be pretty useful as well. It's only 4 bolts pretty much to pull these seats. So anyway, I think that's the first video. We covered all the wiring, got that wiring pulled back today, got all the dash controls removed where they go through the firewall and things like that would keep us from holding it out. And then we got those last 2 controls with the hood release and whatnot. So that should be, I'm sure I'm forgetting something. There's several little things, but if I'm not forgetting anything, then we're just into the dash structure next time and be able to pull the dash. So all right, till next time.